What's going on, legends? This is Keith Allen, your motivation guy, and today I'm going to bring you an absolute unit of a video. This topic has been highly suggested, and we're finally delivering on the top 10 things predators do that you don't. Alright guys, so clear your schedule, because this is going to be the video that opens your eyes to the world of high-tier gameplay and thought processes. Alright guys, without further ado, let's get this going. Obviously with this video pertaining to Predator tips and tricks, we could include rank-specific things, but we wanted to give you guys more skill-based things that can be used across any game mode of Apex. So this video will not include any ratting tips and tricks, as we want the information to be more beneficial towards improvement and less focused on greasing by enemies as a solo player just for placement. Now, this is not saying ratting isn't an efficient tactic for RP gaining, but it doesn't directly make players better at the game. And so if you're wanting direct rank tips because you're struggling, then head on over to ProGuides.com to look at hiring one of our mini master or Apex Predator coaches. These players have done the same grind that you're doing and have all the information that can help you get to that next rank you've been striving for. Now that you have a general idea of what to expect, let's get right into these high-level tips and tricks. So the DEATHBALL tactic has been used in many games like StarCraft, Overwatch, League of Legends, Dota, and probably countless others with the knowledge of the players. The general idea is to clump your units or your team together and storm the enemy's defenses. Apex's DEATHBALL is pretty straightforward. Have a single teammate lead the charge, which normally ends up being the Octane or whatever character has been IGLing or just leading the team around. Then both of the other teammates get on either side of them and charge into the fight, focusing whichever legend is the reset legend. This means Gibraltar, Lifeline, Watson, Caustic, or any legend would make it hard to re-engage on a res if you had to. After that, you focus whichever legend can escape the fight or area the quickest to ensure you don't have that cheeky rat getaway. Afterwards, just gun down the last legend and just quickly reset in case another team third parties. Using this to take the fight to enemies will leave them stunned, and many times they won't have the coordination to focus you down with the speed you will. This is a great thing to practice and use for quick team wipes. So, picking a landing spot should always include thinking about the legends in the team. Having a team with a crypto or no scan legend at all might find themselves better suited in a centralized location for best ring rotations. If you have a Caustic or a Watson that is best set up prior to an engagement, then landing on a side that has wide open rotations, then you are already putting yourself at a disadvantage. Alright, so think about if you make easy rotations and can take fights on the go, or if your team is easily picked apart due to their kits and size. If you have a team that fights well from the edge or fights best from a setup position, all of these things will add up and make your game so significantly better. So when it comes to lower tier players, oftentimes an ability is used either as soon as it's available or at times when the benefit isn't maximized. Predators always get massive value out of their abilities because a single bad use can lead to a team taking advantage of it. For example, a bad scan that comes up short or a Gibby bubble that falls in a bad spot can result in the team being brutally wiped. Using a Bloodhound scan when the team you're focusing is fighting your team or their location is already known is an example of a bad scan. Fat fingering in high tier gameplay can lead to being pushed as well. If you are ratting, this becomes important as well because a single ability used in these wallhack days we live in now can lead to you being found quickly. An early bubble can lead to counter ults tearing you apart or just you not having it when you need it the most. These are just a few examples of this, but be smart with your ability usage and make sure that you're maxing out the benefit for your team if it is a scan or just something else team oriented. So free falling is when you are first flying in or off of a jump tower and you have a large obstacle such as a building or a mountain that you can just fly into, which causes you to stop using your jetpacks to fly and instead you drop down at a much higher speed. This is super great for just getting you a second or two ahead of any contesting teams. This tactic should be used anytime you see the opportunity to, because a few seconds early game can really add up to a lot over the length of a whole game if you stay on top of rotations and looting. And so obsessing about small things like this is why Predators are as good as they are. Something that low elo players literally never do is swap the GOAT items in the team to really appropriate legends or teammates that need certain things. For example, like a Bloodhound having a gold bag instead of a Mirage, or Caustic wouldn't make any sense. This one is the most obvious of the GOAT items to really coordinate, but there is so much more you can do. Swapping the GOAT helmet to any legend in need of an ult charge or a crucial ability being down like a bubble can really help you in a tight situation. Also, a teammate who has no bats or medkits could benefit more from the GOAT armor when out of the ring so that their syringe usage is minimized. And so swapping around gives the effect to more than just one person, which is a big deal in the grand scheme of a game. Alright guys, so this might be obvious to many players, but every DEATHBOX has its loot distributed in the same way, so memorizing the location of certain things as much as possible. This not only speeds up your looting, but also less time being vulnerable to enemies. This means when you take a fight and you only use some ammo and take some armor damage, you immediately get that armor swap, and your muscle memory just takes you right into the ammo where you just click it a few times. The quicker the resets, the less likely a third party is successful, and over the span of an entire game, a lot of time is saved. This also means any thirst mid-fight is swapped at light speed, compared to someone not familiar with DEATHBOX loot layout. Quick armor swaps means less time away from fights and more time wiping squads. Alright guys, so this tip is kind of a grouping of abilities and things they pair well with. This can mean other abilities or even certain environmental things that can be used to your advantage. Alright, so let's just start this off with some Wraith tips since the Octane pad is seeing some changes and she's going to become a bit more popular with this upcoming Rampart event. Wraith portals placed indoors gives your team some breathing space if you don't have a stalling legend. This can be done in places with only 2 doors or multiple doors to give your team time to focus 1 or 2 entrances instead of 4 or more. Using Fuse and Horizon is a great way to do lots of AoE damage inside of Horizon ults. Another thing Horizon is great for is ulting outside of buildings or doorways and pulling enemies into a certain spot or out of cover. This paired with the Fuse ult inside or placed well in coordination in the open can decimate teams. So using Valk's ultimate to take your team out of bounds or to a high ground position otherwise unreachable is just always a fantastic way to bully opponents. Using legends like Crypto and Gibby together can also be good for baiting out other bubbles with an ult to then disable it with an Imp Blast. This can be used in comp or rank to very high success. And so there are many more combinations that can be done, but we just wanted to mention a few that people may not even think about. So in many of our other videos, we've talked about keeping track of enemies and what the layout of the land is. And so we're going to do this on a much bigger scale. Look at any teams landing at the surrounding POIs, and for as long as you possibly can, think about the fact that 2 teams went here, 3 teams went to the north, and 1 went to the south. Doing this is going to set you up for great rotations, and it's going to alert you to any isolated fights that you can take. Now, doing this shouldn't just start once you deploy from the ship. Instead, the whole time that you're in the ship, be watching where teams go and what kind of trails you see. This isn't always the case, but it can oftentimes show you where the best teams are going to be coming from. Every bit of information that you can gather, guys, can be used to your advantage after landing. So with Apex Legends having 18 legends so far and more being added, this idea of just maining a single legend for any situation is just moving further away from the realm of possibility. Not only is there no perfect legend for every situation, but if you always just play one legend, you won't fully understand how to outplay the other kits in the game. Using at least 3 will teach you valuable information about, how their abilities work, their strengths and weaknesses, as well as just giving you more of a versatility as a player. And if you can play an aggressive legend like Octane, but then switch gears towards playing Gibby or Watson, then you understand a lot of different playstyles. Everything that you can do to get the edge in this game, we think is just well worth your time invested. Alright guys, so next up we have Down But Not Out. So Down But Not Out is referring to the fact that many low-level and mid-level players essentially just stop playing the game when they get knocked. Maybe they just crawl around or just tilt and don't even put up their knockdown shield, but we're here to tell you right now, man, that this is not the way. When a preg gets knocked, they basically evolve to the most annoying crawler in any game, and so when you go down, you should immediately go towards the remaining players with your knockdown shield up. Anytime you aren't focused, be sure to just drop it so you can move quicker on the ground towards your healthy teammates. High elo players will utilize knocked teammates as cover and outplay many less skilled players even when outnumbered. And so you can also be used to block doors, to allow teammates to focus elsewhere, or heal while blocking another entrance. If you're knocked inside of a room with your teammate outside of it and an enemy is just holding their door, you can open it from inside, which always catches the enemy off guard. Even when players are near you, you can crawl into their legs and block their side-to-side strafe, allowing for your team to easily focus them down. With 2 knocked players in a corner with their teammate behind them, you're pretty safe from nearby explosions and small bits of poke damage for a limited time. Even positioning your DEATHBOX for when you die in this situation can lead to extra placement, or at the very least, more time for a third party to happen if the other team is getting careless. Once one of the 2 teammates dies close to the front of the teammate, the next knocked player crawls into the DEATHBOX from one of the slanted sides. After the last player is thirsted, this should lead to double DEATHBOX, which provides permanent cover that is taller than any legend crouched. And so these are just a few ways that you can manipulate fights while knocked, and honestly, it's one of the most overlooked things in new or low elo players. Alright guys, well there you have it. Those are our top 10 things that predators do and think about that you don't. You know, everything that we talked about can be expanded beyond what was just said in this video, so make sure that you apply this to every situation that you can, and not only the situations that we provided as examples. This was to get your mind thinking about all the ways that you can improve your Apex gameplay and the type of focus it's going to take to get to the top. You know, top elo players use tricks like these in every game mode, almost like they're second nature to them. Alright guys, so if you feel like we missed any insane tricks that top players use to destroy their opponents, then definitely leave a comment explaining what that is below. You know, these are just some of the most underrated things we found players don't think make a big enough deal to really warrant the extra work they would put in. Don't try to do all these things at once, but start with one tip and just go from there. You know, we know you guys can do it. Hey, once again, this is your motivation guy, Keith Allen. If you guys liked the video, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel and spread the word. We have so much more amazing content coming out. You can also connect with me on my Instagram at Your Motivation Guy. We believe in you guys. Keep going, keep grinding, never give up, keep persevering, man. You can do it. Peace.